Have you ever asked yourself, how do helicopter pilots fly helicopters? Or what it takes to be a pilot or a helicopter pilot? Which institute do you go to? Or maybe you've just always wanted to know how it must be like flying for the SAPS, chasing bad guys from the sky and all of that, like, you know, we see in the Sidingo. And that's, well, if you've asked any of these questions, or if you're interested in knowing about what helicopter pilots do, and our next guest is going to answer all those questions for us. So please allow me to introduce to you, or join me in welcoming Sibongiseni Shandu. He's a helicopter pilot currently flying for Ultimate Heli, which is located in Waterfall, Midrand. And he's joining us for our first pilot episode. And now, the pun is not lost on me. It was very much intended. So welcome, bro. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I guess my first question for you would be, why did you want to be a pilot? What brought that about?
Well, to be honest with you, there's things that are planned and there's things that are just destined. I feel for me it was a destiny.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I'm not gonna say to you, I used to see helicopters flying over my rural area because we had no helicopters in the rural areas. But I mean, you know, what I believe in is that a dream will always start from within.
Yeah.
And whatever initiates the dream is going to drive the dream. So that's why I feel like this thing was probably implanted in me as a child, maybe from seeing something on TV. I'm not sure. But I mean, at home, they used to call me names like Ipanoi. That was my nickname. I'm sure
Why?
you didn't know that.
No.
You know? It just so happened. My older brother.
For no reason at all.
For no reason.
You never used to sing about.
No. I never sang about aeroplanes. We never saw aeroplanes. It was just odd.
Yeah.
So that's why when you see people see something good in you, you shouldn't necessarily take it lightly, because they're seeing something that you are not seeing.
Yeah.
And I feel, for me, it was more of a drive than anything.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you took something as funny as a nickname, and like being called Ipanoi. For those of you who may not know what Ipanoi is, it's an aeroplane. That's the Zulu name for aeroplane. And it obviously, if it's a nickname, it's meant as a joke, like to make fun of you.
Yes,
and you took that, and you just ran with it, and then now you're flying helicopters and doing all these great things.
I that's why I say, I think they just saw something that I couldn't see. You know, that's why I feel like it was more of a destiny, because if I was watching a lot of movies and I would like helicopters in the movies, like your Black Hawk movies, then I would say maybe I was driven by that, but I was never driven by that.
Yeah.
So it sort of just grew in me after matric. That's
Talk
what
about
I did.
taking a negative and turning it into a positive.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's it.
And where did you go to school for? Where did you get your helicopter pilot?
Oh, helicopter pilot license. I got it in Pretoria. Obviously, I'm from KwaZulu-Natal. And when I came to Joburg, and then I started working for a company called Civil Aviation Authority. So they took me to school in a company called SA Lease. That company
Lease.
closed. Yeah, it closed down a few years ago after the instructor, the late Keith Smith, passed on. So they decided to close the school. But that's where I trained.
Okay.
Yeah.
For at SA Lease.
SA Lease. Yeah.
That's where you got your helicopter pilot.
Then,
how long did it take you?
I'll say just less than 2 years. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, there's a bigger story than what I'm telling you. So what happened was, just before I actually finished my license, CAA was funding me, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and then I ran out of funds. So I had to actually stop flying for a few months
Okay.
So that extended that program to almost 2 years. Then eventually when I got the funds, they had closed the school. So I had to go to a different school.
Okay.
So I went to Alpine Aviation, of which also eventually also
They
closed.
closed as well. Oh.
Before I finished my license. Yeah. So, when I look back and I say I was supposed to actually finish at SA List, then I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Then they closed the school. They went to Alpine, and I did my Robinson Art for the 4 conversion. And before I tested, they also closed the school, and I had some money left as well there.
Mm-hmm.
So the company closed down. So
With
I lost the money, I lost everything. So I had to wait for a few months again to get
into another school,
other funds to actually finish.
Oh.
And then I finished on a 3rd school, which was Hover Dynamics here in Grand
And
Central.
that took a period of 2 years.
Yeah,
Or-
just over 2 years, I would say.
Wow, that's interesting. I always thought it took more than 2 years to be a pilot. I don't know why.
No, you know what? It actually depends.
Yeah.
If you're smart, it will take you a year, 2 years. But if you're a dummy like me, then you look at 3 years at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, some people take about 5 years, some take 10 years. So honestly speaking, it's all about if you've got enough funds. That's why I always say the background will always be the important issue to everything.
Yeah.
So if you've got funds and you are clever enough, you understand your mathematics, yeah, 1.5 to 2 years should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many hours? Because I understand it. You get your license based on how many hours you've flown. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Yeah. So you've got 4 different type of licenses. So to finish a commercial license, you need 200 hours. So the first license, of which is a student pilot license, you get it when you write an exam for the specific helicopter you're gonna fly. So let's say, for example, you have to fly in a Robinson R44. You have to write a technical exam. Then you go apply the CA, then you get your student pilot license.
Okay.
And to get your private pilot license, you need about 50 hours. So that can take you anything between 3 months or 4 months to get the license. Then for commercial, you need about 200 hours.
Mm.
But also remember, it's not just about the hours, it's an age issue as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so if you're like 16 years old, now you can actually get a PPL on fixed wings and helicopters.
So you can start as early as 16.
You can start as early as 16. So, and then when you get to 18, when you are 17 years, you can't apply for a commercial because you don't meet the criteria.
Mm. So you
So
have to
you
wait.
need to have 200 hours and be 18 years of age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then to get your airline pilot license, that's a requirement of 1,500 hours, and you need to be 21 years.
Which one do you have?
An airline pilot license.
Oh, the last number.
Yeah, the last time.
How many? Do you know how many hours you flown?
Of course I do know.
How many?
I've got 3,200 hours, most probably.
I wish I
Yeah.
could do the math and say you've been in the air for.
Yeah, you just divide it by 365.
Oh, you do that. You're
Yeah.
the mathematic here.
So
the
you
mathematician
say
here.
3,200 divided by 24 hours, and then divided by 365. Then you
That's
know
a lot
how
of
many
hours in the air.
years you've been in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first feeling when you first took off on your own, like with no one telling you?
So basically,
what
what
to
they call it going solo.
Mm.
So what it's about? So you actually start flying from 0 hours to about 15 hours, roundabout plus minus. Then if your instructor feels like you are ready to go solo, then they send you solo. So, I mean, for me, that was back in 2006, 2007, roundabout, when I went solo the first time.
Wait, so when we met, because me and you, we met when I think it was 08, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like we've
was
known
already-
each other for quite
I
some
was
time.
already flying, yeah.
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 And I thought you were just I thought you were just a student then.
No, I was still a student, obviously. Because
but flying as
yeah,
well.
but flying, yeah. So basically, for me, even now, I still feel like I'm a student
Yeah.
because
Obviously, yeah.
you don't want to be complacent in aviation. That's what kills people. But to answer your question, when I went solo for the first time, So we flew a second with my instructor. So he said to me, his name is Dave Gove. I'm saying like was as if he passed away. He's still alive and kicking, that bastard. So, okay, sorry. So then we flew the first second, and then he came back. He's like, no, go enjoy yourself. So when I flew the first time, obviously the helicopter felt lighter because now I was alone. Also, the center of gravity changes because I was by myself. So
it makes a difference if someone else is with you.
Yeah,
you can feel it.
Yeah, you can. It's like when you're driving your car with 4 people.
You can feel.
Surely you can feel. I mean, I'll be so surprised if people don't feel the difference.
Yeah.
Because you do feel the difference.
I like what you said earlier, just now, that you are always learning.
Yeah.
And that being complacent when you're a pilot, that's what kills you.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain steps that I've taken in my career when I felt like I was being complacent, then I chose to leave what I was doing at the time. Like when I was flying for the police, the time I left, that's when I felt like I was complacent. Because then we'd chase a car 800 feet and it would feel like it's nothing.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
So the thing is, when you start chasing cars, you start at 500 feet. And then you start going at 300 feet, 200 feet. By the time I left, we were chasing at 100 feet. So for me, it was just an indication that I was being complacent. Oh, yeah. And if I had to push my boundaries beyond that, who knows, something could have happened.
Yeah.
So it's knowing your limitations also as a person, I guess.
Okay. But obviously you're still learning. I mean, you just told me that you were in training. You were doing some training recently.
Yeah. So
it's a constant learning process. You never stop.
It's a constant learning process. Yeah. So it's like, to give you an example, if you drive a Polo TSI and you want to drive a Golf 7 GTI or Golf R or whatever, you have to go and do training for a Golf 7 GTI. And then if you want to drive a Golf 7R, you have to go for training to drive that. So we call that type ratings. So I can't just go out there and fly any helicopter that is out there. Not because I'm not capable.
Yeah, but you have to go through the training.
You have to go through the training process so that you understand the limitations and how to load passengers. So the recent convention I just did now was for the L206 Long Ranger, the L4.
Okay.
So, but I mean, that is much more smaller than what we've been flying for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So if the company feels like there's an operation that might come and they want you to fly a certain helicopter, then you go and do training on that. So that if the operation comes through, then you are ready.